afternoon, friends. Today we are here at Tribes India, their showroom, and there was a question in the press conference why we are here. So this is because the Valley of Words festival, which begins tomorrow at USIS, has been also sponsored by Tribes India. And we have Lt.Gen General Sahab with us, PJS Pannu Sahab. So we'll give the mic to him. He would talk about himself, introduce, and then about the festival, how it's spread across 5 different cities. Sir.
Thank you very much for introducing me and the festival, which is very significant from the perspective that this year India is commemorating 50 years of 1971 war. Actually, India became independent in 1947, so 75 years is also being celebrated this year. But what is important is to understand that we also got partitioned at the same time, 75 years back. And Pakistan, which got partitioned in a manner that it was divided into two, West Pakistan and East Pakistan. So immediately on division and independence of two countries, Pakistan attacked India. And they ran over large territories of Jammu and Kashmir, and then Indian Army pushed them back to a point where United Nations was invited to intervene, and that is where it was decided in an agreement that there will be no more military operations. However, the agreement was there to have the ceasefire line, which got decided at that time. But India in last 75 years have actually seen a lot of security challenges, and many battles have been fought, many wars have been fought, many conflicts have been faced by the Indian troops. In 1961, we had a war for liberation of Goa. A lot of people don't really understand that Indian Army actually went in there to free Goa from the clutches of Portuguese. And in 1962, there was a full-fledged operation where, of course, Navy did not have a role and Indian Air Force did not have a role, but it was the battles of the armies, where the Chinese attacked us in a surprise attack. They ran over a couple of objectives and mountain ranges in India, especially in Arunachal Pradesh. And they ran over a large amount of territory by infiltrating and going behind our troops. As also, they attacked Indian troops in eastern Ladakh, where even now there is a problem. So there was a line of actual control and McMahon line in the Arunachal area which came up. But that still remains disputed, and the militaries of both the countries remain alert, and many times the patrolling or even military operations have been undertaken by both countries. But what is significant is that in 62, of course, there was humiliation suffered by India because there was a surprise attack by a so-called friend, who we called Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai. When a friend attacks like this, then you learn your own lessons the harder way. This should have been avoided. But the fact is it happened, and history is something that we can only learn from. But what is again not being spoken about too much is in 1967, India gave a befitting reply at Nathula, and Chinese were defeated there, and Chinese don't want to talk about it obviously because they suffered humiliation at the hands of Indian troops. But between 1962 and 1967, Pakistan attacked us. And Pakistan again tried to liberate Kashmir by using unconventional forces, by recruiting people supported by the army to go into Kashmir under Operation Gibraltar. And it didn't happen in their favor. They expected Kashmiris to have an uprising and support the so-called intruders, but it did not happen. And again, 65 war was something which Pakistan lost. And after that, between Pakistan and East Pakistan and West Pakistan, they had a political problem because the majority of Pakistan comprising both East and West put together, had majority Bengali community, and if they were to go for elections, then obviously the outcome was what it became, that the Bengali majority was to form the government, and the western part of Pakistan deprived them of the right to govern the country, and therefore they went and literally ran a proxy war, and after that the Western Pakistan Army created mayhem in East Pakistan. So really speaking, this happened 50 years back, and therefore this year we are talking about 1971 war, how India was drawn into a conflict which was basically between West and the East, within one Pakistan, separated by about 1600 kilometers. But when India went in to support the East Bengal population, where Western Pakistan Army was committing it very, very, you can say, shameful atrocities there, raping, looting, burning, and all that. You can consider a very third-rate treatment given to the Bengalis at that time in East Pakistan was going on. So India supported that. Because India was supporting it, they attacked India again on 3rd December 50 years back. So that became a war which India fought on two fronts with the same nation, Pakistan. Pakistan was dismembered and Bangladesh was liberated. So today we all celebrate liberation of Bangladesh 50 years back, and we also celebrate the victory of our great victory of our country. So that is what
Yes,
we
right.
are celebrating.
So please take a call, sir. So now, tomorrow, 9th October and 10th October, we are going to have this festival. And this is going to, you're also expecting the CDS to be there. And you'll have a lot of, you were talking about the cookery general. So that would be very important when he's going to talk about his, what his stressed with that 1971. Is that period, is he going to recall, and has he also authored a book, sir?
1971 war is a war which is full of guts and glory, individual glory, the glory of individual units, sometimes handful of men, which took on the Pakistani battalions and units, largely formations and their commanders, how brilliantly they planned the operation. Because General Cardozo wrote a book, and not only because he wrote a book, he also is known for many other things of guts and glory, where he took out his own cookery and he cut his own leg because it had blown over a minefield, and he had to drag the leg, so he had to cut it. So he took out his own cookery and cut it. And also then he took part in the heliborne operations before that. The only heliborne operations of that nature which unfolded in 1971 war, the first heliborne operations of our country. And also he talks about it, his battalion had participated in Agrawal, which was the only cookery attack,
Right.
where it was a silent attack. Gurkhas used their cookeries and did not fire weapons, and Pakistanis were petrified that Gurkhas will come and, chop the necks off.
Okay.
So these are the things that General Cardozo is going to speak about, and also he has introduced marigold
Yes.
as the Indian flower, that we must honor our soldiers, give them respect through an Indian flower, and not a flower which is not of Indian origin, which is
Yeah,
really
the traditional,
traditional.
what is
flower.
offered in our temples.
So now that marigold is being acknowledged, and Value of Words is a platform, really speaking, which has been an ambassador. So this time, the Value of Words is also bringing in celluloid as a chapter, where movies and documentaries are also being shown, because they are also in a manner like you read a book and you understand the story and you build your perception. Even movies and
create,
documentaries create that
They have a
same
larger, long
impact, and sometimes even more. And
longer lasting.
so in 1971, the war was fought. Many people forget about it because people don't read history. Histories don't get written very quickly. But it's only once the border movie was made, say, 25 years after the actual battle, people
Yes, sir.
started acknowledging that there was a war fought in 1971.
Right,
So
true.
J.P. Datta Sahab actually brought in this kind of a magic which brought a fever of patriotism into the hearts of youngsters. Many of them joined the army, and many of them were young officers who got motivated by J.P. Datta's movie and who fought LOC.
Yes.
And then he made LOC movie, and then after the
Paltan.
second movie, Paltan was on 1967.
Right,
The LOC was the
1971.
line of control,
Right,
which
sir.
was on Kargil operations. So more youngsters joined. So today you find that many young officers are a product of motivation, which they, as impressionable minds, saw through a movie made by J.P. Datta. So
Great.
we've decided that Marigold is also something that J.P. Datta Sahab needs to be remembered for having contributed to nation building and patriotism.
Great.
So we are making him also join this campaign of Marigold. With General Cardozo being there, I think it will
Yes.
have a lot of emotional value and a lot of
Absolutely,
meaning.
sir.
And General Bipin Rawat is going to be there, the CDS.
Yes, sir.
He's also going to be present on that occasion,
Right.
and he's also going to be speaking at the closing ceremony.
So, in fact, when we were attending your press conference, and that time we realized that these are going to be very interesting sessions spread over possibly 2 months. And there you're taking us to Delhi, Hyderabad, Baroda, and then Dehradun. And I missed out one. One place I missed out. You got 5 places.
Yes, but currently what we are talking about today is what is going to happen in Delhi,
In Delhi,
for
yes,
next
sir.
2
So
days.
this is going to be very interesting. So we are, through the video, we are appealing to everybody who's watching that they should try to visit this, and we'll provide the address at the end of it. So last thing, just before we sum up, I was reading a book. This is by an author. He was the, Punjab Kesari owner, you could say, or the editor, Shri Ashwini Chopra. He's passed away, but he talks about that partition days. And so there's a Radcliffe I just read, and there's a map he's shown. So Radcliffe is, if you could just specify what exactly does it mean? Is this the dividing line between India and Pakistan?
You see, the British artificially divided in a hurry. Sir Radcliffe came, who was, heading the Boundary Commission to separate India and Pakistan. But he was here only for 5 weeks, and they drew a line, and then they decided that actually the independence was to be granted to India in 1948. But they were in a hurry to leave because after the Second World War, the quest for freedom was rising in a manner, and they realized that maybe the Indian Army or the Indian National Army, or there will be some tension which will get created, and it will be very difficult for the British to exit India at that time.
Right.
So they thought before a big problem
were
comes
silent.
up, so they wanted to just quickly partition and go away. They saved the skin, but got millions butchered in this partition, which was hurriedly cobbled up.
It's pretty tragic of those times.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for speaking to us. This is Sanjay Agrawal with Lt.Gen PJS Pannu. And sir, you wanted to introduce yourself. You said you were heading, so you talk about...
No, I commanded 14 Corps, which is in Ladakh in 2016 and 17. And later on, I was the Deputy Chief of Integrated Defense Staff.
Integrated Defense Staff. Yeah,
Army,
that's
Navy
what
and
I
Air
said.
Force all put
So
together.
we need to clarify that as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Sanjay.
We've done a good interview with sir.
Of course, Sanjay is a